Good morning, everyone. My name's Mark Flynn. What a horrible day out there. It's great to see so many on today's webinar. Today's all about using the features of Microsoft Teams to maximize the productivity of end users. Now, for any questions you might have, please post them in the Q&A. We want to make this interactive, top right-hand corner, and we'll make sure to address as many as we can today, but obviously follow those up as well. Now, briefly, it'd be wrong of me not to say a few words about Bedrock. So let me just move on to a slide there. Now, we exist to help our clients become the best they possibly can by using technology in smarter ways. Now, today we'll introduce the Workplace 2021 concept and demo the full functionality of Teams. But being smart goes beyond buying into and using a bunch of new technology. So our USP is ensuring your IT strategy is aligned to your business. You're making these investments, let's make sure those investments are truly delivering business value. And we work on the premise, what gets measured gets done. For example, providing the dashboards that tell you how the business of IT is supporting the business, be that measuring the effectiveness of your IT spend, looking at your security posture, is your business secure, or the productivity of your people. So for example, take the productivity of your people, identifying where the hotspots of Teams usage is, which teams are using video most, all of which enables you to start asking what value is our organization getting out of this new investment. And we're all excited about Teams, but is it truly delivering value? And where are the incremental changes we should be making to making sure we're nudging everybody into following best practices we outline? So let's introduce the concept of Workplace 2021. The current IT strategy for many organizations just doesn't fit or isn't fit for purpose for the post-COVID office because it's very different to what the pre-COVID world looked like. We can't quite imagine the leap, or we're living it, but prior to all of this happening, we couldn't imagine the leap that we've made from pre-COVID to the post-COVID. And the big question is, can you take advantage of your COVID-19 experience of the last 6 months and become a successful, thriving hybrid or 100% remote business? Now, the opportunity is obvious. If people working remotely can help you save 60 to 80% of your office costs. You can recruit from a larger talent pool. It doesn't going to be constrained to where your office is. And you can hold on to better people for longer as their lives and their priorities in their lives change as they move further away from the office. So fundamentally, the post-COVID workplace has to move on from focusing on the office to everywhere. It's not the office any longer, it's where the user is, and that could be at their home, collaborative workspaces, mobile, on holiday, yes, possibly on holiday for some of us more foolish, and obviously the office. The office is still there to some degree. Now, this new post-COVID IT strategy is what we refer to as the Workplace 2021. So let's look at 3 of our customers. And let's look at the journeys that they're on. I think it reflects a great deal of where we all are. In the case of COVID, it has accelerated their business transformation. For example, one of our clients has decided to close the London office. Bang, just close it, hand the keys back to the landlord, and everyone working from home. So they are going from a very traditional office space to one which is 100% remote. And as a result, their current IT or their IT that they had and the working practices that they followed were not fit for purpose. Another, a very traditional international recruitment firm, had always conducted their business face-to-face. That's how they did it. But now they see the value of video interviewing. But how do they ensure they still portray their business as a high-end business? And finally, a professional services firm wanted to switch to a more hybrid business model, which has resulted in reducing their office costs by 60%. But they were in a bit of a muddle. For example, when do they use Outlook versus Teams? How many teams and channels should they have? Where do they store their files? And importantly, how do they develop or continue to develop the more junior members of staff? What I'd like to do now is move on to the demonstration of Teams and focusing on the end user capabilities. Let's dive straight in and take you through the 6 key areas that underpin Teams, which are activity, chat, Teams, calendar, calls, and files. Let's start with the activity tab. You can see what they call there a feed. Now this is all the activity, all the posts, all the chats that involve you listed there. Now, if they're in bold, you haven't read them before. If we click on one of these, for example, you can see on the right-hand side where it's highlighted in yellow, yeah, just to show where it is. And once I've gone through that, then perhaps I want to come back to one later. Perhaps I need to reflect on it, but reread it later because it's an important post, so I can mark that as unread. Yeah, it goes back to bold. This is a great place to start. If I've been away all morning in meetings or been away for a couple of days on holiday, this gives me a snapshot of all the activity I need to catch up on. Let's move on to chat. This is where probably 99% of users will live and use Teams. I can have chats with just a single individual there, yeah, or group chats. If I'm having a one-to-one chat with Isaiah, but perhaps I want to pull in somebody at a later date, possibly our manager. This is a list of all people that are in our organisation. Who's our manager? Let's find some of the suitable title, director, for example, yeah. And I can pull Miriam in. Perhaps we just want her to reflect on a discussion today and come up with, give us some direction. And you can see there whether we want Miriam to see all of the previous history of the chat or not. In some organisations right now, Microsoft Teams really has facilitated great communication and collaboration on a departmental level or on a project level. But what has suffered, what we've seen suffer, is that cross-departmental communications. That really, to some degree, is broken down. So perhaps I want to remedy that by setting up a chat group for me to engage with finance or to engage with the HR department, because I'm always talking to those people. So perhaps from a HR perspective, ignore the titles, it's just a demo tenant. I'll pick a couple of people that might be the HR representatives. I'll pull them in and I might call that chat to HR. So now on the left-hand side, you can see chat to HR is there, and I can engage with chat such as having a baby. What is the policy for maternity leave? And I post that, and everybody in that chat group, the 2 HR assistants, the director plus the assistant, will get that and can respond to. So it's a great way of engaging on that cross-departmental basis. Along the bottom, you can see a lot of additional functions. I've got a rich text editor. I can flag a message as important or degrees of importance. I can attach files. I got also the opportunity to introduce some personality, some personality into the conversation. Well, we'll come to this a little bit later. Chat is a great place for one-to-one chat that's not relevant to anybody else. If it's purely personal, has no relevance to anybody else in the organisation, great. This is a great place for that to live. Outside that, you should be using Teams or the Teams function, which we'll come on to in a second. Let's move on to Teams. This is probably the most underutilized tool within Teams. You can see I've got some teams set up. I've got a project team there for Mark 8. I've got a retail department, sales, marketing, and so on down there with a whole bunch of channels underneath. Let's talk about best practice for setting up teams and channels. Don't worry about having too many teams or channels. As long as they're being used, that's great. Think of a team as a group of people with a purpose. You could have a team for a marketing department, a team for a project, team for a particular site, office, a team for a client or a social group, for example. They're all relevant and all suitable for having a team created.
and then have as many channels underneath to organize all the moving parts of that team. Each channel will be one topic of conversation, and let them grow organically. Don't overthink the number of channels and what channels you'll want up front. Just let them grow organically. I'd also encourage you to make your teams public to everyone in your organization. That will foster a wider understanding of what's going on across your organization, which is healthy, especially as we move to this more distributed way of working, this more virtual way of working. Generally, I'd suggest you limit the number of teams to maybe 8 or 10. That's only a rough guidance. But have as many channels, as I've said, as you'd like underneath. The theoretical limit is 99 teams and an unlimited number of channels. Now, within the the Mark 8 project team there on the left-hand side, you can see I've gone and created 4 additional channels above and beyond the general, which is created as default, and only use the general tab for, or don't use the general tab if you can get away with it. Make sure all communications and everything relating to the project, any moving part related to the project, is done within the context of the channel. You can add users to that channel at any point, and especially guests. So if you're collaborating with a client, or a partner, you can add them in at any point, as long as IT admin has switched this function on. So if we want to say Mark Flynn, bedrock, that's it. As long as the user has, the external user has an email address, that's fine. Clicking on the design channel, by default, as I've said, it's good practice, is everybody can see all the posts that have happened over time. Now, this is very useful if new people are joining the project throughout its life cycle, because it quickly allows them to come up to speed. Let's talk about co-authoring. Teams serves, or should serve, as a central repository for all files I'm working on with my colleagues in the context of the Mark 8 project and the design piece. There should be no files anywhere else sitting in the organization. So let's look at how the various ways we can collaborate and co-author around that. If we go into posts in the design and find the usability test doc, where's that? There should be a file there called that somewhere. Here we go. Click on that, and what it immediately brings up is that document, and I can work on that file. And what I've got down the right-hand side there is a conversation tab, which gives me content. Let me come back to that a little bit later. So I can edit the file, and it looks very common kind of top ribbon there. I can open that document in the browser and work on that separately. Why would I want to do that? Well, perhaps I need to crack on and do some other things in Teams, but I want to open this file in the Word browser and work on that when I have a chance to do so. I can also open that file in the desktop app. So why would I want to do that? So if I got a version of Office 365, which gives me the full fat Office apps, fine, I can do that. There are certain functions, features that are only available in the full fat version. Perhaps it's examples such as the word art editing. If I need to do that, then I might spin out to that to the full fat version of the Office app. By the way, we can see there, for example, other people in that document. So real time, I could see people where they are in the document and actually follow what they're entering into that document and collaborate online with sharing the screen, for example, just working together with my colleagues and actually real time seeing where they are and what they're editing and what changes have happened since I was last in that document. So how do we get files into Teams? Number of ways we can do it. I can create files straight off within Teams. I might have received an email. One of us might have received an email from one of our suppliers that everybody should be aware of. So let's find a file that I've received. An email that I've received. So possibly it's, let's look at this. Let's find one that might work. EMEA training. Yep, so let's forward that into the channel. And there we've got it, EMEA training. Very simple. I can also drag and drop, so perhaps I've got a file, let's see, on my local desktop, perhaps I've been working on it. Let's find something suitably small, it won't take up a lot of time. And that file's been brought in. So there's various methods we can use to add in files into Teams. Let's look at some of the features at the bottom of the screen here. We've got a rich text editor. So if it's not just a one-liner, possibly a little bit more complicated kind of message we want to communicate, we could have a title which is important email, and we can then start typing away. So and we can start using all the usual things you'd expect in a rich text editor. We can post that message to multiple channels. Perhaps this is a CEO needs to post it across the organization, multiple channels. That's okay, we can do that as well. Yeah, so we just go in the design channel, select what other channels we want. We can attach files to that message, and we can add a bit of personality as well. For example, we've got emojis, we've got GIFs. There's never a moment there isn't a suitable GIF to lighten the mood. And perhaps we can use stickers. Perhaps I want to say, yes, well done team, yeah? Thank the team for doing some great work. Something else that's really important is praise. Now, I want to spend a moment on this because we're in lockdown, we're all working from home, and how do we maintain that company culture, that positivity around the organization? And recognizing people and saying thanks for doing good work is so important. And this praise function helps us achieve that. It's such a powerful, quick way of making sure people get recognized, and if they get that recognition, they're going to bring their A game to work tomorrow. Yeah, it's so important. So perhaps somebody did an awesome job. Who did that awesome job? Perhaps it was one of our Isaiah, yeah, and then we could say thanks for working through the night. So a great way of adding some rich personality, etc., recognition, whatever you want to do, always great to use these kinds of features. It really lifts the usage of Teams, I think. Something Microsoft wants us to do is to live in Teams and use the Teams UI as our operating environment, our productivity environment, which makes sense because you don't want to be toggling out, shelling out to different UIs, different applications. If it's to do with the project, if it's to do with the team, if it's to do with us as a functioning team within the organization, and we've got a team set up and we've got channels, well, let's serve it up within Teams. So for example, if I go to research and development, we can see the functions up here. We've got Power BI function. So what we've gone and done, we've integrated Power BI into Teams, and we can see here, if we click on the web analytics, we might be particularly interested in some data that helps us along the way with this project. We can see how South Africa is doing. We can look at Asia. Yeah, it's great. It really integrates, in this case, Power BI. but I can integrate any number of applications. And if I click on the plus sign there, you can see a long list of not just Microsoft applications, but third-party applications, which are always being added to. So using Teams as your primary productivity UI, that's where I work, that's where I collaborate with my colleagues. This is a fine example of that's achieved. Let's move on to the calendar function. Now, anytime I create a meeting within Teams, that same meeting will appear in Outlook and vice versa. They're synced up, so don't worry where I'm creating those meetings. So let's look at how easy it is to set up Teams meetings. So let's say I've got a project milestone review session to book for the design team of the Mark 8 project. Very easy. I simply add the channel. So Mark 8 project, and I want that meeting with everybody in the design team. Yeah, I go design review meeting, and that's it. It pulls in everybody and uses scheduling assistant to find the optimal time for that team or those individuals to meet. And equally, I can view their working hours. So if somebody is one of the design teams in New York, it'll pull in the fact that they're not BST, so it's not going to book it 9 o'clock British summertime. It will book it 2 o'clock in the afternoon because that's the optimum time for everybody on this global project team. I do also want to talk about live events, which is a massively underutilized resource when it comes to Teams. This webinar, for example, is a live event. It's a great alternative to products such as GoToMeeting, for example. A great example of using live events if you've got a chief exec runs a regular town hall, monthly, weekly town hall event. Yep, this is a great example of great use of a live event. Now, why would I use a live event rather than setting up a more traditional video meeting within Teams? Well, with a video meeting, you could have your, not everybody's muted. You could have your dishwasher going on. You could have your screaming kids having the ad dabs in the background, for example, running around. It can be disruptive. And if everybody has got their camera switched on, you start draining the bandwidth. All of that isn't a problem if you're using live events. So let's go ahead and create a live event. So I'm in the calendaring function, click on live event, and what's the title? It's a town hall, let's say monthly town hall event. And we have something to get your head around is producers, and another role is presenters. A producer is somebody that can start or stop the live event. A producer is somebody that can decide what's shared, whose screen is shared, what combination of content is shared in a split screen, for example. While a presenter, which is the other role, is simply the role where somebody has got the rights to share their screen. So let's say we've set that up. The next is we've got the option of what type of live event is this for? Is it just for a certain set of people, possibly the design team? Perhaps it's organization-wide because it's a town hall event. Or is it a public event? For example, this webinar is a public event. You can see it's grayed out because IT admin haven't switched this function on in this demo tenant. If I scroll down, I can also see some other useful features. For example, do I want that event recorded? Well, yes, because those who couldn't attend get the option of play that back. I can also see who's attended, because if we've got people who regularly don't attend the town hall events, why is that? Communicate that to the line manager, communicate that to the HR department. Perhaps we've got a morale issue here. And Q&A, you want to make this live event an interactive event, so you've got the Q&A function there. So we've now set that event up. Let's get the link, the attendee link is clicked, copied to the clipboard, close that down. So now I can go into Teams. We've got a team set up for the whole organization, go into general, new post, say, so the CEO goes, come every one make sure they attend. Let's go to the rich text editor and add the link in. And post that. Yep. Equally, that could be put in everybody's calendar, but I just wanted to show how you can send out live event meetings from an internal perspective, at least. Let's move on to calling, and specifically Teams Voice or Microsoft Voice. I don't want to dwell on this because we've got a separate webinar at the back end of September for this. But fundamentally, it allows you to turn Teams into your telephony system. At the moment, you'll have a more traditional telephony system or a VoIP system that is separate to Office 365 and Teams. Using Microsoft Voice allows you to turn Teams into your telephony system. So you've got that fully integrated kind of telephony, communications and collaborations platform. So please, if you're interested in looking at it, it's very successful, very popular within the SMB, so up to 250 user type size organization, then please attend that webinar that we got set up. Let's look at the Files tab. Now the Files tab shows me all the more recent files I've been working on, for example, but that's not what I really want to go into here for. There is a real powerful reason for this tab. So for example, out of the box, Microsoft expect you to use OneDrive or SharePoint and Teams as your repository for all the files you're going to be collaborating and co-authoring with your colleagues. But as we saw with the Power BI and the ability to integrate third-party applications, you might not want to go down that path. Perhaps you've got some users that use Dropbox or ShareFile and so on. And you want them to continue to do so for a period of time. It might be part of a general migration to Teams and SharePoint and so on for your file system. So for example, I can allow people to integrate the Dropbox, ShareFile, Google Drive and whatever. Yeah, so very simple way of doing that. Click on it, bang, and then I'm using Dropbox as I would use files within Teams, as we've seen as part of this demonstration, and it all works very seamlessly together. And you know, for one thing, if nothing else, it allows me to drag files easily from Dropbox into the relevant file storage areas, file tabs within the channel, and it just makes that general slower migration a lot more seamless. Now, I appreciate the demo is a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but hopefully it gives you a flavour of the capability of Teams and how you can set that up quickly using best practice. So all the best. Back to the slide. You should see a slide on your screen. Let me just double check. Yeah, there it is. It's the workplace high-level assessment. So I've got a couple of slides. Just very conscious of that we're almost out of time. We've got 60 seconds, so let's race through. So we introduced the concept of Workplace 2021. What we're offering is a free Workplace 2021 assessment. No obligations, it's absolutely free. If you want a free assessment to see how you could introduce Workplace 2021 and all the concepts around communication collaboration, fundamentally that's Teams, where you want to look at using business voice as well. So you're using Teams as your PABX, but also fundamentally cybersecurity. Wow, yeah, we're going to be super. We want to be super flexible. We want to work from anywhere. Yeah, but hell's bells, just nail that cybersecurity piece to the floor. That is so important. So what we'll do in this free, no obligations assessment is we'll do a comprehensive assessment. So that will be a Teams call. We'll run through a whole bunch of questions. We'll come up with the IT strategy recommendations that take you from where you are now to where you want to get to. And then we'll leave you with a report as well. Finally, something else that we've got the remainder of the summer series of our webinars. So we've just done user productivity, 25th of the 8th. So in September, we've got the licensing model. So you've got to license this correctly.
M365. All the branding's changed. What we want to do is unpack that and look at what the right Microsoft 365 SKU should be for your organization. We've also got another collaboration co-authoring webinar on the 22nd of September. So that's going to drill down into a specific element of Teams. We've looked at some of the collaboration capabilities of Teams today. We just want to focus that session specifically on collaboration and co-authoring. Get that right, boom, you know, it's a real game changer for many organizations. And then rolling out Teams Voice. So last one of the summer series at the end of the month is what is Teams Voice and how do you go about rolling that out? So great resources, feed the brain, come up to speed, look at what you can do, look at the art of the possible. And finally, we've got a 7-part video series I'd strongly suggest you sign up to, because we talk about operating as a smarter organization. A smarter organization means it's not just about the technology and spending money, yeah, it's your people as well. And what we do in the 7-part series is look beyond just the technology. So how, with us all working from home, how do you avoid the stress and burnout? Because it's a very, very relevant thing as we all work from home. How do we become a remote meeting guru? Yeah. How can I be as productive as possible? What kind of kit should I be using at home to be as productive as possible? It's all about people-centric stuff. Anyway, sign up to that. You'll see some emails coming through. I really recommend that. It adds that extra dimension of making sure you are the best thriving organization possible, be it you're a hybrid or 100% virtual organization. And that, just looking out the window, it's still raining. Is it? We've had 1 or 2 questions come through. We've run out of time. I will come back on those questions, and I wish you all the best and have a great day. Cheers. Bye-bye.